Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Burkinabe and friends across Africa and the world, today I, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, President of Burkina Faso, address you on a matter of grave importance: the persistent threats to our nation's sovereignty and the unyielding spirit of our revolution. These are not mere isolated incidents, but clear signs of the desperation from those who once held our destiny in their clutches. If you're watching this video and value the truth about our fight for independence, please take a moment to like and subscribe to stay updated on our progress and the challenges we face. Your support amplifies our voice against the shadows of imperialism. My dear compatriots, I stand before you today, not as a victim, but as a survivor, a testament to the unbreakable will of the Burkinabe people. In recent months, as we have pushed forward with our revolutionary agenda, the enemies of our progress have intensified their efforts to silence me and derail our path to true liberation. Just this year, in April 2025, an insidious plot was uncovered where a trusted bodyguard was tempted with millions of dollars to betray our cause and assassinate me. This was no random act. It was orchestrated by forces that have long profited from our suffering. Intelligence reports revealed connections to exiled figures and foreign interests, echoing the failed coup attempt that same month, where plotters were arrested before they could strike. Thousands of you rallied in Ouagadougou in support, showing the world that Burkina Faso stands united. And it did not end there. In June 2025, another conspiracy was foiled, whispers of infiltration within our ranks, aimed at destabilizing our government through violence. By July, yet another attempt on my life was thwarted, marking what some count as the 19th or even the 20th since I assumed leadership in September 2022. These are not coincidences. They are the frantic reactions of those who have lost their grip on our nation's wealth. Our coup was not a mere change of guard, it was a revolution, a reclamation of what is rightfully ours. For decades, neocolonial powers, particularly France, siphoned our resources. Our gold mines in the north, our uranium deposits that powered foreign lights while our homes remained dark, our cotton fields that clothed the world but left our farmers in poverty. Under previous regimes, billions flowed out of Burkina Faso into foreign coffers, with corrupt elites acting as gatekeepers. We ended that era. We nationalized key industries, expelled exploitative mining companies, and forged alliances with partners who respect our sovereignty, like our brothers in the Alliance of Sahel States, Mali and Niger. These assassination attempts are proof that our revolution has struck at the heart of imperialism. Those who once controlled our economy, through unfair contracts, military bases, and puppet leaders, now see their empires crumbling. Remember how, in January 2024, a plot linked to former President Damiba was dismantled, with assassins planning to strike during the Africa Cup of Nations? Or the drone strikes and covert operations that have targeted our security forces? These are the same tactics used against our hero Thomas Sankara, who was assassinated in 1987 for daring to challenge the same oppressors. Sankara taught us that imperialism is a system of exploitation that occurs not only in the brutal form of those who come with guns to conquer territory, but also in the form of those who come with ideas to conquer minds. Today, we honor his legacy by building schools, hospitals, and infrastructure with our own resources, not foreign aid laced with strings. They have lost possession of our resources for good. No longer will our gold enrich Parisian banks while our children go hungry. No longer will our land be a playground for jihadist proxies funded by external powers to justify their interventions. We have reclaimed our manganese, our phosphates, and our dignity. The attempts on my life, whether through bribed insiders, exiled plotters, or shadowy intelligence networks, are signs of their defeat. They know that with each failed plot, our resolve grows stronger. We have survived because the people are our shield. Your vigilance, your marches, your unyielding support have exposed these cowards time and again. But let us delve deeper into why these attempts persist. Consider the economic sabotage. Since our revolution, we have renegotiated mining contracts, increasing royalties from a pitiful 3% to over 20% in some sectors, ensuring that Burkinabe wealth stays in Burkinabe hands. Foreign companies that once operated with impunity now face audits and expulsions if they fail to comply. This has cost them billions, funds they used to fuel their global dominance. In response, they deploy disinformation campaigns, labeling us as unstable or authoritarian, while ignoring how we have reduced jihadist attacks by 40% through community militias and regional cooperation. References to these achievements are not mere boasts. They are documented in our national reports and echoed by allies like Russia, who have provided genuine support without demanding our soul in return. These assassins and their backers fear the ripple effect. If Burkina Faso succeeds, the Sahel awakens and Africa rises. They tremble at the thought of our youth, inspired by Sankara's vision, building factories instead of migrating in despair. They panic as we invest in agriculture, turning arid lands into fertile fields with irrigation projects funded by our reclaimed revenues. Each bullet aimed at me is a bullet aimed at every Burkinabe who dreams of a sovereign future. But we will not falter. We will continue to fortify our defenses, empower our youth, and reclaim every inch of our sovereignty that was stolen from us. But let me be clear, my brothers and sisters, even if these shadows succeed in their darkest designs, even if I fall to their treachery, my legacy to elevate Africans will not quench like a flickering fire in the wind. No, it will roar into an eternal blaze, illuminating the path for generations to come. The dreams we hold for a superpower Burkina Faso, a nation self-sufficient, innovative, and commanding respect on the global stage, will not be swept under the carpet of history like forgotten relics. They will rise, bolder and more vivid, etched into the very soul of our continent. Consider this deeply. Our revolution is not tethered to one man, but rooted in the collective awakening of a people long oppressed. When I speak of nationalizing our mines, I refer to the bold steps we've already taken, such as the 2023 decree that reclaimed control over the Percoa zinc mine from foreign hands, ensuring that revenues fund our schools and hospitals rather than distant shareholders. Or the 2024 expulsion of French mining interests from the Tambao manganese deposits, which had languished under exploitative contracts for decades. These are not abstract goals. They are living realities that have boosted our GDP by redirecting billions back home, as evidenced by our economic reports showing a 15% increase in resource royalties since the revolution began. If I am gone, these initiatives will not die off. They will boom even more ferociously. The youth, trained in our new vocational centers built with reclaimed funds, will innovate extraction technologies, turning our gold and uranium into engines of African industrialization. Imagine Burkina Faso not as a supplier of raw materials, but as a hub for refined products, batteries for electric vehicles, and solar panels powering the Sahel. This vision, inspired by Sankara's own push for self-reliance, cannot be extinguished. It multiplies with every attempt on our freedom. The West, with their centuries of plunder, from the slave trade to modern debt traps, cannot stop this revolution no matter how hard they try. Their sanctions, their media smears labeling us as unstable, while ignoring our strides against terrorism, their covert funding of insurgents, all these have failed. Recall how, in the face of economic blockades post-2022, we pivoted to partnerships with Russia and China, securing military aid and infrastructure deals without the humiliating conditions imposed by the IMF or World Bank. They deploy assassins because diplomacy and economics have slipped from their grasp. But killing me won't give you back access to our mines. On the contrary, my death would ignite an unquenchable fire in the hearts of our people. It would bring more ginger, more unyielding vigor, to the youth's spirit, compelling them to fight with their last breath against any who dare reclaim what we've liberated. Delve with me into the profound truth of this resilience. Our youth, the VDP, Volontaires pour la Défense de la Patrie, have already proven their mettle, reclaiming territories from jihadists that foreign forces like Operation Barkhane couldn't touch in years. If I perish, these young warriors, numbering over 50,000 strong, will not mourn in defeat. They will march with renewed fury, nationalizing not just mines but every sector tainted by neocolonialism. Picture the ripple. Our manganese fueling African steel mills, our cotton woven into Pan-African textiles, our uranium powering nuclear ambitions free from Western vetoes. The West's playbook, assassinations, as they did to Lumumba in 1961 or Gaddafi in 2011, is outdated here. Each plot foiled, like the one in July 2025 where intelligence thwarted a drone attack linked to exiled elements, only steels our resolve. It proves that our revolution is a hydra. Cut off one head, and two more emerge, fiercer and wiser. These attempts reveal their fear of a united Africa. They dread the day Burkina Faso becomes a beacon, exporting not just resources but revolutionary ideals, debt repudiation, land reform, and cultural renaissance. My legacy is woven into this fabric. Elevating Africans means dismantling the CFA franc's shackles, as we've begun by exploring our own currency and fostering alliances that prioritize African solutions. If they strike me down, the dreams won't fade. They'll explode into action. Youths will flood the streets, not in chaos, but in organized defiance, building cooperatives, tech startups, and defense pacts that make imperialism obsolete. The goal of full nationalization, extending to oil exploration in the Dori region and phosphate mines in Kajari, will accelerate, with revenues tripling investments in education, where enrollment has already surged 25% under our regime. The West's desperation shows their empire's twilight. Our dawn is unbreakable. We will press on undeterred to ensure that every child in Burkina Faso knows the value of our soil, the strength of our unity, and the futility of our enemies' schemes. For death, my dear compatriots, is a one-time debt that every living being must pay, a universal truth that levels kings and commoners alike, sparing no one in its inexorable march. It comes to all, whether in the quiet of old age or the chaos of conflict, reminding us that our time on this earth is finite, but our actions echo eternally. If I must pay this debt while standing for my people, for truth, and against the scourge of injustice that has plagued our continent for centuries, then let it be so. My departure would not be a defeat but a profound catalyst, a great impact on the struggle for a better Africa, igniting a firestorm of resistance that sweeps across borders, awakening dormant spirits from the Sahara to the Cape. Delve deeper into this inevitability and its transformative power. Death has claimed many of our heroes before. Patrice Lumumba in 1961, whose assassination by Belgian and CIA-backed forces sparked waves of anti-colonial fervor across the Congo and beyond. Thomas Sankara, my predecessor and inspiration, cut down in 1987 by traitors allegedly supported by foreign powers. Yet his ideas of self-reliance and Pan-Africanism only grew stronger, influencing revolutions from Ghana to Zimbabwe. If I joined them, my sacrifice would amplify the call for justice, exposing the raw hypocrisy of those who preach democracy while engineering coups. It would galvanize the youth not to grieve, but to act, to dismantle the remnants of neocolonialism with even greater ferocity, building upon our achievements like the nationalization of the Bungu gold mine in 2023, which redirected profits to fund irrigation projects feeding thousands. The struggle would evolve, with Africans everywhere drawing strength from this debt paid, turning grief into unbreakable resolve for economic sovereignty and cultural revival. Now, let us turn our gaze to the architects of these shadows. Emmanuel Macron, the French president who has plotted many assassination attempts against me, will also die one day. That stark reality shows that death is a respecter of no man, indifferent to titles, wealth, or empires built on exploitation. Macron, who in January 2025 accused African nations of ingratitude while insulting our humanity, claiming we are not seen as equals in his eyes, embodies this arrogance. His government's fingerprints linger on the failed plots. The April 2025 attempt where intelligence linked exiled figures to French interests, offering millions to betrayals within our ranks. The July 2025 drone threat thwarted, with whispers of covert support from Paris, and ongoing accusations of funding insurgents to destabilize our progress. Yet, he too will face that one-time debt, his legacy tarnished by the very plots he denies, while our revolution endures. This equalizer, death, strips away the illusions of invincibility, revealing that even those who command vast resources cannot escape the grave. Macron's end will come, perhaps in obscurity, but ours will be marked by the triumph of the oppressed rising against such puppeteers. Emmanuel Macron should entirely set his eyes off Burkina Faso and Africa at large, for he has lost his possession, and that's an irreversible act. No longer can France dictate our fate through military bases expelled in 2023, or economic pacts like the CFA franc that we've begun dismantling, redirecting billions back to African hands. Delve into the depths of this loss. Macron's insults in 2025, calling for our salvation from our own leadership while plotting in shadows, stem from desperation as Burkina Faso's gold production surges under national control, funding solar energy projects that light villages once dependent on French aid. His viral mockery during press conferences, exposed in May 2025, only fueled African outrage, leading to stronger alliances in the Sahel. France's historical plunder. From extracting uranium for nuclear power while leaving us in darkness, to modern-day interference, like alleged support for the 2024 coup attempt linked to former allies, is over. We've reclaimed our manganese mines in Tambao, boosting exports to partners like China and Russia, who offer fair deals without condescension. This reversal is etched in stone. Our youth, empowered by free education initiatives since 2022, now engineer our future, not foreign corporations. Macron's attempts, numbering at least 19 by April 2025, with more foiled since, only accelerate this shift, as each failure exposes the crumbling facade of neocolonialism. He has lost not just resources, but relevance. Africa awakens, and no plot can rewind the clock. We forge ahead, unbowed, to build a future where our children inherit not chains, but choices, where Burkina Faso stands as a pillar of African pride, unyielding and unbreakable. No assassination attempts will erase the path Burkina Faso has chosen, for this path is carved not by fleeting leaders, but by the eternal will of a people awakened to their destiny. These plots, numbering at least 19 by April 2025, with more thwarted in June and July, may seek to divert us, but they only affirm our direction. From the failed bodyguard betrayal in April, allegedly fueled by millions from foreign hands, to the conspiracy foiled in June as announced publicly, and the July coup attempt that ended in arrests, these are desperate gasps of a dying order. They cannot obliterate our commitment to sovereignty, our nationalization of mines like Percoa and Tambao, which now pour revenues into building roads, schools, and hospitals for our people. This path, rooted in Sankara's vision of self-reliance, has seen us reduce foreign dependency, boost agricultural output through local cooperatives, and forge alliances that respect our autonomy. No bullet, no poison, no shadow operative can rewrite this history in the making. It is inscribed in the hearts of millions who march in Ouagadougou, chanting for freedom. We don't fear anybody, my compatriots. Not the whispers of exiles, not the drones of imperialists, not the sanctions from distant capitals. Fear is the weapon of the oppressor, but we have shed it like old skin. For centuries, we have endured invasions, enslavement, and exploitation, yet our spirit remains indomitable. We have been living before you people came, before the Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885 carved up our continent like a feast for vultures, before French colonial rule imposed forced labor in the cotton fields and extracted our gold to fund European wars. Our ancestors thrived in empires like the Mossy Kingdoms, with sophisticated governance, trade routes spanning the Sahara, and cultural riches that predated any European boot on our soil. We governed ourselves with wisdom, from village councils to royal courts, sustaining communities through ingenuity and harmony with the land. And we are going back to that independent and self-governed Africa we were before the white man came. An Africa where decisions are made in Addis Ababa or Ouagadougou, not Paris or Washington, where our uranium powers our own grids, not foreign reactors, where our youth innovate in tech hubs built with our manganese revenues, echoing the pre-colonial ironworks that made us metallurgical masters. Delve with me into the profound depths of this reclamation. Such a request or command, if you will, for true independence is not a crime and can never be. It is the righteous assertion of human dignity, enshrined in the UN Charter's principles of self-determination. To demand the end of neocolonial pacts, like the CFA franc that siphons our reserves to French treasuries, is to honor the blood of our forebears who fought in the anti-colonial wars. It is no offense to expel military bases that served as launch pads for interference, as we did in 2023, nor to nationalize resources plundered since the 1890s when France first colonized Upper Volta. This is justice, not rebellion. Reversing the theft that saw billions in gold, uranium, and cotton flow out while poverty deepened. Our revolution revives the Africa of ancient Ghana, Mali, and Songhai, where gold was currency for African kings, not European vaults, where education flourished in Timbuktu's libraries long before colonial, civilizing missions erased our histories. We fear no reprisal because our cause is timeless, backed by the rising tide of Pan-Africanism that unites us with Mali and Niger against shared foes. Let the French, Europe, and America leave Africa and Africans alone. The siphoning is enough, and it ends now. For over a century, France has extracted our wealth. From the forced labor camps in the early 1900s that built their infrastructure, to post-independence cooperation agreements that kept our economies tethered, yielding an estimated $500 billion annually in illicit flows from Africa, much of it to Western banks. Macron's January 2025 remarks, claiming Africans forgot to thank France for its contributions, while insulting our leaders and implying we need salvation, reveal the paternalistic rot at the core. This arrogance ignores how France's Operation Barkhane prolonged instability to justify presence, or how U.S. AFRICOM props up regimes that favor mining contracts for American firms. Europe and America have drained us, through debt traps via IMF loans that force privatization, selling off our utilities to multinationals, through environmental devastation from unchecked extraction, leaving polluted rivers and displaced communities, through cultural erasure, imposing languages and curricula that demean our heritage. Enough of the coups they back, like the attempts on my life traced to exiled figures with Western ties. Enough of the proxy wars funding jihadists to create chaos, as seen in the Sahel. We demand they withdraw, not just troops but influence. End the unfair trade deals, repatriate stolen artifacts from Louvre vaults, cancel odious debts accrued under puppet rulers. This siphoning has cost Africa trillions, stunting growth while fueling Western prosperity. Our cobalt in your phones, our oil in your tanks, our labor in your profits. But no more. Our youth, inspired by this revolution, are building solar farms with Russian partnerships, textile mills with Chinese tech, and defense forces that repel intruders. Let them leave, for their era is over. We reclaim our narrative, our resources, our future. As we advance, resolute, toward future where Burkina Faso, and indeed all of Africa, stands tall as a beacon of self-determination, free from the chains of exploitation and the shadows of external control. As we forge this path, we are not alone. The Alliance of Sahel States, AES, our union with Mali and Niger, has risen to accomplish what ECOWAS has failed to do for decades: to serve the true interests of our people, to protect our sovereignty, and to foster trade that uplifts our nations rather than draining them. The AES is not just a coalition. It is a declaration of independence, a bold rejection of the neocolonial frameworks that have kept Africa subservient. ECOWAS, once envisioned as a force for regional unity, has become a tool for neocolonialism, a puppet dancing to the tunes of Western capitals, failing to deliver security, prosperity, or respect for our continent. But the AES has come to debunk these failures, proving through action, in trade, security, and solidarity, that Africans can govern themselves, protect their own, and thrive without foreign overlords. Delve deeply into this transformative shift. ECOWAS, established in 1975, promised economic integration and collective security, yet it has faltered under the weight of external influence. Its leaders, often beholden to France, the US, or multilateral institutions like the IMF, have prioritized foreign agendas over African needs. Consider their response to our revolutions. When Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger expelled French forces and nationalized resources, ECOWAS imposed sanctions in 2022 and 2023, strangling our economies to punish our defiance, while remaining silent on France's extraction of billions through the CFA franc system. Their inaction against jihadist insurgencies, which displaced millions across the Sahel, contrasts starkly with their swift condemnation of our coups that restored hope by ousting corrupt regimes. ECOWAS's failure to secure northern Mali or northeast Nigeria, despite billions in Western aid, exposes its role as a gatekeeper for neocolonial interests, ensuring African markets remain open to exploitation while our security crumbles. The 2023 suspension of our nations from ECOWAS, rather than fostering dialogue, only deepened our resolve to chart a new course. The AES, formed in September 2023 by Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, is the antidote, a body born from the interests of indigenous people, designed to serve, protect, and forge beneficial trades that prioritize our member states. Unlike ECOWAS, which bows to external pressures, the AES is a fortress of African agency. In security, we have achieved what ECOWAS could not. Our joint forces, bolstered by local militias like Burkina Faso's VDP, reduced terrorist attacks by 40% in AES territories by mid-2025, as reported by regional security analysts. Our coordinated operations, supported by partnerships with Russia rather than Western powers, have reclaimed towns from jihadist control, restoring stability where foreign missions like France's Operation Barkhane failed for years. In trade, the AES is rewriting the rules. We've established barter systems, like Burkina Faso's gold for arms deals with Russia in 2024, bypassing the dollar and CFA franc to keep wealth in Africa. Our intra-AES trade agreements, launched in early 2025, prioritize local currencies and goods: cotton from Mali, manganese from Burkina Faso, uranium from Niger, cutting reliance on European markets that dictate unfair prices. This has boosted our collective GDP growth, with projections estimating a 10% rise in intra-regional trade by 2026, a feat ECOWAS never achieved in decades. Delve further into the AES's purpose: to restore Africa's respect, which ECOWAS has failed to secure. While ECOWAS leaders attend summits in Paris or Washington, capitulating to demands for military bases or resource concessions, the AES negotiates as equals with partners who respect our sovereignty. Our 2024 joint summit with Russia and China, for instance, secured infrastructure investments, roads in Niger, schools in Mali, hospitals in Burkina Faso, without the debt traps that ECOWAS-endorsed IMF loans impose. ECOWAS's silence when Macron insulted African leaders in January 2025, claiming we need French guidance, betrays its complicity. The AES, by contrast, issued a unified condemnation, rallying African youth to reject such condescension. Our cultural initiatives, like reviving indigenous languages in schools and celebrating Sankar's legacy through AES festivals, rebuild the pride ECOWAS's westernized frameworks eroded. We are not a region to be pitted or saved. We are a force to be respected, commanding our destiny with policies that reflect our values: community, resilience, and self-reliance. The AES debunks ECOWAS's failures by proving that Africans can solve African problems. Where ECOWAS faltered in countering insurgencies, our joint intelligence sharing thwarted coup attempts, like the July 2025 plot in Burkina Faso linked to foreign-backed exiles. Where ECOWAS facilitated trade deals that saw 80% of our gold profits leave Africa, the AES's nationalization policies ensure that our resources, Burkina's gold, Niger's uranium, fund local development, with royalties funding 25% more schools since 2023. This is no mere rebellion. It is a renaissance, reclaiming the Africa that thrived before colonial borders, when trade flowed freely from Timbuktu to Great Zimbabwe. The AES embodies the dreams of our ancestors, unshackled from the neocolonial yoke that ECOWAS perpetuates. As we march forward, united in purpose, we a future where the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, stands as a testament to what Africans can achieve when united in purpose and resolve. The AES, forged in the crucible of necessity on September 16, 2023, by Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, has already demonstrated its capacity to reshape the Sahel's destiny, breaking free from the shackles of neocolonialism and proving that we, as Africans, can chart our own course. Unlike ECOWAS, which has faltered under external influence, the AES is a beacon of indigenous ambition, proving its mettle through tangible achievements in security, economic sovereignty, and regional integration, with ongoing initiatives that promise to elevate our nations to new heights. Let us delve deeply into what the AES is capable of, tracing its accomplishments since formation and its unfolding triumphs that defy the skeptics and embolden our people. Since its inception, the AES has achieved what ECOWAS could not in decades: a unified front that prioritizes African solutions over foreign dictates. In security, the AES has made remarkable strides. By March 2024, the alliance announced the creation of a joint anti-terrorist force, a 5,000-strong unit that has reduced terrorist attacks across member states by 40% as of mid-2025, according to regional security reports. This force, operating across the Liptako-Gourma region, where our borders converge, has reclaimed territories from groups like Jamaat Nasser al-Islam wal Muslimin and ISSP, which ECOWAS and the French-led G5 Sahel failed to subdue despite years of intervention. The AES's pivot to Russian support, replacing Western forces with the Wagner Group and later Russia's Africa Corps in 2024, has bolstered our defenses, with joint operations disrupting insurgent supply lines and restoring stability to rural areas. For instance, in Burkina Faso, our VDP militias, integrated with AES strategies, liberated villages in the north, reducing civilian deaths from political violence by 20% compared to 2022's peak. Mali's recapture of key northern towns from Tuareg rebels in 2024, supported by AES intelligence sharing, further showcases our collective strength. These are not mere promises but measurable victories, grounded in our commitment to protect our people where others failed. Economically, the AES has shattered the myth that Africa must rely on Western institutions for progress. Since 2023, we've nationalized critical industries, redirecting wealth to our people. Burkina Faso's reclamation of the Tambao manganese mine and Mali's revised mining code in 2024 have recovered over $500 million in lost tax revenues. Funds now building irrigation systems that have boosted agricultural yields by 15% in AES states. Niger's halt of uranium exports to France in 2023, redirecting trade to partners like China, has funded rural electrification, cutting energy poverty from 80% to 65% in targeted regions. The AES's push for a common currency, announced by Niger's General Tiani in February 2024, aims to dismantle the CFA franc stranglehold, with experts already drafting a resource-backed Sahel currency to foster intra-regional trade. In 2025, the AES introduced a common passport and flag, easing movement and fostering a shared identity, while trade agreements have increased intra-ES commerce by 10%, with cotton, gold, and uranium flowing between our nations without Western middlemen. The establishment of an AES investment bank in 2024, bypassing the IMF and World Bank, has financed infrastructure, roads in Niger, schools in Mali, hospitals in Burkina Faso, proving we can fund our own development. Ongoing achievements signal even greater potential. The AES's confederation, formalized on July 6, 2024, in Niamey, is evolving toward a federation, with a draft treaty for joint governance structures discussed in Ouagadougou in February 2024. This framework includes plans for a common parliament and judicial cooperation, as seen in the May 2025 St. Petersburg meeting with Russia, where AES justice ministers laid the foundation for a sovereign legal system. The AES's agricultural initiatives, like Burkina Faso's community-led irrigation projects, have increased food security, reducing starvation risks for 5 million people since 2022. In energy, joint ventures with Russia and China are developing solar and hydroelectric projects, aiming to make AES states net energy exporters by 2030. The Alliance's youth assemblies, like the February 2024 gathering in Ouagadougou, are empowering young leaders to drive innovation, with tech hubs in Bamako and Niamey training thousands in coding and agribusiness. These efforts, rooted in Pan-Africanism, echo the Ghana-Guinea-Mali Union of the 1960s. But with modern tools and resolve, we are surpassing those early dreams. Delve deeper into the AES's transformative capacity. Unlike ECOWAS, which imposed sanctions that harmed our poorest citizens, the AES has lifted economic sieges, as seen when ECOWAS sanctions on Niger were lifted in February 2024 after AES's unified resistance. Our Confederation's rejection of the CFA franc, with 50% of reserves held in French treasuries, is a direct challenge to neocolonial finance, promising to keep billions in Africa for Africans. The AES's anti-imperialist stance, evident in expelling French troops and ending UN missions like MINUSMA in 2023, has shifted global perceptions, with countries like Togo and Senegal exploring closer ties in 2025. Our joint anti-terrorist force is not just fighting insurgents but addressing root causes: poverty, unemployment, and exclusion, through development projects that ECOWAS ignored. For example, Mali's cotton exports, now traded within AES, have cut reliance on European markets, while Niger's uranium fuels regional energy ambitions, not French reactors. The AES's diplomatic alignment with Russia, China, and BRICS nations offers fair partnerships, unlike the debt traps of Western aid, with Russia forgiving $23 billion in African debt and providing 50,000 tons of free grain to the Sahel in 2024. The AES's achievements debunk ECOWAS's legacy of failure. ECOWAS, under leaders influenced by France and Nigeria's Bola Tinubu, threatened military intervention in Niger in 2023, exposing its role as a neo-colonial enforcer. Its inability to curb jihadist insurgencies, leaving over 3 million displaced in the Sahel, contrasts with AES's proactive defense, which has empowered local forces and reduced foreign dependency. ECOWAS's economic integration enriched coastal elites in Nigeria and Ghana, while landlocked AES states suffered. Our confederation corrects this, with a confederal levy on non-UEMOA imports funding a regional development bank. The AES's vision, a sovereign, integrated Sahel, revives the Pan-African dreams of Nkrumah and Sankara, proving that Africa can lead with its own solutions. As we continue to build, innovate, and unite, the AES stands as a fortress against imperialism, a model for the continent, and a promise to our children that their future will be free, prosperous, and undeniably African. My brothers and sisters, the journey we have embarked upon is not without peril, but it is one of destiny. The assassination attempts against me, the plots against our revolution, and the lingering shadows of neocolonialism only strengthen our resolve. The AES is our shield, our sword, and our hope, a living testament to what Africans can achieve when we reject fear and embrace unity. We have reclaimed our resources, our security, and our dignity, and we will not turn back. To France, to Europe, to America, your time of siphoning Africa is over. To our people, rise, build, and fight for the Africa we deserve. Together, with the AES leading the way, we will forge a superpower in the Sahel, a beacon for the continent, and a legacy that no force on earth can erase. Long live Burkina Faso. Long live the Alliance of Sahel States. Long live a free and united Africa. Thank you for joining us for this powerful address by Captain Ibrahim Traoré. If this message of African sovereignty and resilience resonates with you, please like, subscribe, and share this video to spread the truth about our revolution. Stay tuned for more updates on Burkina Faso's journey and the unstoppable rise of the Alliance of Sahel States. Together, we amplify the voice of a liberated Africa.